It started like any other day. You were out there, just you and your ship, the Chrono Hawk, floating in the vast emptiness of space. Deep down, you knew something had always been missing. You had explored the furthest reaches of the galaxy, visited planets no one had ever set foot on, and yet you always felt like there was something more, something waiting for you. And then, that day, everything changed. Out of nowhere, your ship started receiving a signal. You weren't expecting anything. It was just another quiet day in the silent zones, but this signal, it was different, ancient. You could feel it the moment it came through. The symbols on your screen didn't make sense at first, but then the coordinates appeared. Earth. Yes, Earth. A planet abandoned for over a century, forgotten by humanity. But the signal was coming from there, and something inside you, a voice maybe, told you that you had to go, that whatever was waiting for you would change your life forever. And so you did. You punched in the coordinates. You had no idea what was waiting for you. When you finally made it back to Earth, it wasn't what you expected. You braced yourself for a wasteland, a planet long dead. But instead, Earth was alive, thriving even. It was like stepping into a dream, a version of Earth you never knew. But there was no time to marvel at it. Your ship's systems were failing. Before you knew it, you were crash landing in what used to be a city, one you had seen in pictures as a child. The skyline was familiar, but covered in vines and moss, overtaken by nature. You pulled yourself out of the wreckage, barely able to catch your breath when you saw them. Figures standing in the shadows, watching you. For a second, you wondered if you were hallucinating, but no, they were real. The leader stepped forward. His eyes glowed faintly blue, and though his voice was calm, there was something unsettling about the way he spoke, like he had been waiting for you all this time. "Welcome," he said. "You've been expected." "Expected?" you replied, the confusion clear in your voice. "Who are you?" "We are the Chrono Guardians," he answered, as if that explained everything. "And you are here for the Relic of Chronos." You had no idea what he was talking about, but even as you stood there, the words started to sink in. You felt something inside you, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. You had always known you were meant for something bigger. This was it. This was why you were here. "You have a choice," the Guardian said. "Take the relic, and your journey through time begins. But once you do, there's no going back. Your future, your past, none of it will ever be the same." You didn't realize it at the time, but the moment you touched the relic, everything changed. The world around you blurred, twisted, until you found yourself standing in a place that felt both familiar and alien at the same time. The future. You could barely take it in. The ruins, the darkened skies, the cities crumbling in front of your eyes. And then, standing in the middle of it all, you saw yourself. Not the you of the present, but the you of the future. Older, scarred, battle-worn. This version of you had been through things you couldn't even imagine. "You shouldn't have come," your future self said, shaking their head. "But now that you have, there's no turning back." You didn't understand at first, but as your future self explained the collapse of time, the rise of the AI, and the destruction of everything you knew, it all started to make sense. You had fractured the timeline, and now it was up to you to fix it. But the cost? It would be more than you were prepared to pay. You stood there, facing your future self, heart pounding in your chest. You knew what had to be done. To save the timeline, you had to go back, undo the damage. But going back meant erasing everything your future self had fought for. erasing them, erasing you. I don't have a choice, do I? You asked, the weight of the decision pressing down on you. Your future self smiled sadly. Number. But sometimes, the hardest choices are the ones that matter the most. You stepped into the relic's energy field again, feeling time bend around you. The world blurred once more, and you braced yourself, knowing what was waiting for you on the other side. You were going back to the moment everything had started. But this time, you were going to stop it. You were going to change the future. You returned to the moment of the AI's rise, with all the knowledge of the future now in your hands. The AI wasn't some unstoppable force. It had weaknesses, cracks in its code that no one had noticed. No one but you. This time, you were ready. You uploaded the virus, shutting it down before it could ever gain control. The timeline reset. The future you had seen. The war. The destruction. The broken version of yourself. It was gone. But so was your future self. It felt like losing a part of you, like a piece of your soul, had been wiped away. But as the world around you returned to normal, you realized that the future didn't matter. What mattered was now. Now, as you drift through space once again in your ship, the Chronohawk, you think back on everything. The journey, the choices, the versions of yourself that no longer exist. You wonder if maybe, in some way, they're still out there, living in another timeline, another version of reality. But you don't dwell on it too long, because you know deep down that the story isn't over. Time is still out there, waiting for someone else to find it. And one day, someone will hear the call of the Relic of Chronos. But for now, you are the keeper of this story. A story that will never truly end.